How to read Modbus data with Python. Part 1. Modbus is a communication protocol commonly used in industrial automation systems for transmitting information between electronic devices. In this tutorial, we will cover how to read Modbus data using Python. Prerequisites. Before we start, make sure you have the following one. Python installed. Ensure you have Python 3x installed on your machine. Modbus library. We use the pymodbus library to handle Modbus communication. You can install it using pip-bash pip install pymodbus 3. Modbus device. Have access to a Modbus device, either via a simulator or a physical device connected to your network. Basic concepts. Modbus protocol. Modbus operates in a client-server, also known as master-slave architecture. The client master sends requests to the server slave, which responds with the requested data. The most common Modbus variants are Modbus R2 used over serial communication and Modbus T used over Ethernet. Addressing 1. Register types. Coils. Binary outputs on bit. Discrete inputs. Binary inputs on bit. Input registers. Analog inputs 16 bits. Holding registers. Analog outputs 16 bits. Addressing register. Addresses start from 1 in Modbus documentation, but they are indexed from 0 in the pymodbus library. Getting started with pymodbus. Setting up a basic Modbus client. In this part of the tutorial, we will create a basic Modbus client that connects to a Modbus server and reads data from a holding register. Code example. Here's the code to create a simple Modbus client that reads a holding register. Python from pymodbus client. Sync import Modbus client. Import logging. Enable logging basic config log logging. Jitlogger log. Set level logging. Debug parameters for the Modbus server IP 192.168.1.10. Replace with your Modbus server IP Modbus port 500 to default Modbus port register address on address of the holding register. To read register count 1 number of registers. To read diff read Modbus data. Create a Modbus client. Modbus client. Modbus server. Modbus port. Connect to the Modbus server. If client connect log info connected server. Read holding registers. Response client. Read holding registers. Register address 1. Register count. If response I0 log error reading registers. Response else log info read values. Response registers close the client connection. Client close else log error failed to connect to Modbus server. Imports. We import Modbus client from the pymodbus client sync module and logging for logging purposes. Logging setup. We configure logging to output debug messages. Modbus parameters. We define the Modbus servers, IP address port, and the register address we want to read. Reading data, we create a modbus client instance using the server SIP and port. The connect method establishes a connection to the modbus server. We use the read holding registers method to read the specified holding registers. Note that we subtract 1 from the address because pymodbus uses zero-based indexing. From the If the response is an error, we log it. Otherwise, we log the read value. Finally, we close the connection. Running the code 1. Replace modbus server IP with the actual IP address of your modbus server. Save the code to a Python file, e.g. read modbus py. Run the script using the command bash python read modbus p. Conclusion: in this first part of the tutorial, we learned how to set up a basic modbus client using Python's pymodbus library and read data from a holding register. In the next part, we will explore how to handle different types of registers and implement error handling and retrieves. Stay tuned for part 2.